One ordinary Thursday evening, the lights cut out from coast to coast. Gas pumps freeze mid-gallon. Aircraft controllers lose every radar scope at once. And in the hush that follows, you realize America just slipped back a century while you were reheating leftovers. Washington's national security calendar is stuffed and none of the pages look friendly. 5 days ago, U.S. intelligence confirmed Tehran quietly loaded sea mines onto IRGC patrol boats, signaling a willingness to choke the Strait of Hormuz if Israel's covert strikes on Iranian soil keep landing. 1/5 of global oil flows through that 40-mile choke point. Farther north, Russia's summer push has shifted to relentless drone and missile attacks on Ukrainian cities. Kyiv reported 4 dead and over 30 wounded in strikes just this morning, and President Zelensky is pleading for faster Patriot deliveries. Closer to home, the Department of Energy had to invoke emergency powers last week to keep the southeast grid alive during a record heat dome, proof that our infrastructure is balancing on a knife's edge even before foreign actors prod it. Add a fresh DHS bulletin that warns critical substations remain soft targets for coordinated cyber-physical attacks, and you have the perfect storm: global flashpoints abroad, an overstretched grid at home, and adversaries who know both. Welcome to Safety Zone. Tonight we're mapping the reality of a nationwide blackout. Not a rolling outage, not a storm knockout, but total grid collapse. Maybe it starts with a sophisticated ransomware worm that trips cascading protection relays, or a synchronized physical assault on just 20 key substations, or a geomagnetic storm that overdrives transformers faster than they can be isolated. However it begins, the result is the same. No power generation, no long-haul transmission, no regional interties to backfeed life into darkened cities. In that scenario, resilience isn't a bunker fantasy. It's an everyday skill set. Our task is to replace abstract dread with actionable confidence, step-by-step choices that keep your household functional, your community cohesive, and your future options open without burning cash on gimmicks. When the grid blinks out nationwide, the clock doesn't start at 0, it starts at -30, because by the time media admit it's systemic, the outage has already been silently chewing into your perishable supplies, your critical systems, and the fragile thread of social stability. This isn't just a blackout, it's a cascading failure with no estimated time of repair, and the first 12 hours are your window to impose order before disorder sets its own rules, so move deliberately, but without hesitation. First, kill the main breaker to your home and physically unplug any sensitive electronics. If the grid sputters back unpredictably through a scorched or compromised transformer, the surge won't be gentle, it'll be devastating. And anything connected becomes a fuse. Then check every gas appliance. Power failures often knock out the vent fans tied to modern furnaces, water heaters, and stoves. That means pilot lights might go dark while gas keeps leaking. A single spark in the wrong place, and a blackout becomes a fireground. Next, communication. In the early fog of a grid-down event, information becomes the currency of awareness. Get your battery-powered AM/FM radio on the table. If you've got a crank radio, even better, make it part of your routine. 10 minutes every hour. Add a highlighter, a local map, and start building a living picture of what's happening beyond your 4 walls. Which neighborhoods still have water? Which pharmacies are operating on backup power? Are there confirmed warming centers or open community shelters nearby? Every verified detail is a node in your survival network. Now shift to water, because once the pumps stop, the countdown to dehydration starts. Fill sinks, tubs, clean bins, and anything else that holds liquid. Drop a clean trash liner into a laundry basket if you have to. Prioritize volume over elegance. A full bathtub, roughly 80 gallons, gives a family of 4 10 days of survival water at crisis ration levels. Half a gallon per person per day, total, including drinking, cooking, and hygiene. Once water's flowing, move to your fridge and freezer. Don't open them yet, plan. Pull out perishables that won't last the night, cook what must be eaten, then seal the freezer like a vault. Use quilts, blankets, even a mattress if needed. Insulation equals time, and a packed chest freezer, unopened, can hold safe temps for 2 full days. That's your cold buffer. Use it wisely. Now here's what most people forget. Isolation is dangerous. Silence breeds suspicion. And in a blackout, rumors travel faster than facts. So get out there, knock on doors, talk to neighbors, trade what you know, ask what they've seen. You don't need to form a survival coalition, but early contact builds the trust you'll need later when generators roar to life or misinformation starts to spread like wildfire. In the first light without the grid, your greatest asset is composed, outward-facing leadership. Be the signal in the static. Electricity is gone, but energy isn't. It's simply changed costume. Now, instead of flipping a switch, you earn it through foresight, creativity, and grit. Your first move is mental. You stop thinking in terms of convenience and start thinking in terms of conservation and conversion. Begin with load shedding, not from a power grid, but inside your own life. Collapse your footprint. Move your family into 1 or 2 core rooms, ideally ones with few windows, solid insulation, and southern exposure if it's winter. The goal is containment. Every body adds warmth, every candle amplifies it, and every door you don't have to heat or light saves precious energy. Next, lighting. You need layered redundancy, not just a flashlight tossed in a drawer. Think of illumination like a toolbox. Crank-powered lanterns are your workhorses. They require effort, but they deliver reliable task lighting for cooking, repairs, and reading. Solar string lights, strung along ceiling edges or wrapped around curtain rods, provide soft ambient glow that boosts morale without draining high-watt sources. Beeswax candles, safer, longer burning, and less toxic than paraffin, serve as your deep reserve. Keep each tier separated in labeled totes or crates so that anyone, even kids or guests, can find what they need without rummaging in the dark. Now, if you already own a solar generator or a lithium battery pack, you need to understand its limits cold. A 1 kilowatt-hour power bank sounds like a lot until you start spending it. Boiling 5 gallons of water once, or charging 20 phones once, but not both. Decide in advance where that energy goes. Medical devices, nebulizers, glucose monitors come first. Two-way radios and emergency receivers are next. After that, you're into luxury territory. If you're someone without a full solar rig, don't despair, organize. A 200-watt folding solar panel in one household, a marine-grade battery in another, and a solid inverter in a third can become a charging cooperative. Designate one home or outbuilding as the charging station. Post laminated sign-up sheets with socket schedules, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., radios only. Noon to 2 p.m., lanterns and flashlights. Transparency kills resentment, and consistency prevents chaos. When the cold sets in, it's time to shift to heat capture. A rocket mass heater, a clean-burning stove made from salvaged bricks and basic clay, can be built in a weekend and will heat a small living room overnight using less than a grocery bag's worth of wood. If that's not an option, stack fire bricks or black-painted water bottles along sun-facing walls to create thermal mass. These absorb sunlight during the day and radiate heat slowly overnight. In summer, you flip strategies entirely. Now your job is to shed heat, not trap it. Hang wet canvas sheets over windows and doorways. Air passing through acts as a poor man's swamp cooler. Build a zir pot with 2 clay pots and sand to keep perishables cool, critical if you're storing insulin or antibiotics. Crack windows high on one side of your space and low on the other to invite cross-ventilation, especially after sundown when air begins to cool. Energy management after a grid collapse isn't about tech wizardry. It's about attention to detail, group coordination, and making every watt, every calorie, and every breeze earn its place in your system. Food without refrigeration doesn't mean starvation, it means adaptation. It requires shifting your mindset from hoarding to harvesting, from depending on stored goods to becoming a steward of flow. The formula is simple but non-negotiable. preserve, produce, procure. These aren't three options. They're three gears that must turn together, week after week, to sustain life beyond the reach of the grocery store. Preserve first, while you still have a semblance of infrastructure. In those first days when your propane is full and the weather is dry, pressure can everything that won't last 5 more days. Soups, stews, vegetables, meats, cook them hot, seal them safe. A jar of pressure can chili holds over 1,000 calories, shelf stable for a year, and it reheats in minutes. That means dinner 5 months from now costs you almost no fuel and zero risk. At the same time, set up your dehydration stack. Apple slices, zucchini chips, ground beef jerky, even scrambled eggs. Yes, you can dehydrate cooked scrambled eggs into a flaky powder. All of it shrinks into lightweight, shelf-stable nutrition. Use car windshields or mylar blankets angled into a solar funnel to build a makeshift dehydrator. Heat plus airflow is all you need. Next, produce. Don't wait until the pantry is low. Plant like it's already empty. Use the 55-day rule. If a crop can't be harvested, dried, or stored within 55 days, it's a luxury item. Focus on calorie-dense, low-maintenance winners like dry bush beans, dent corn, sweet potatoes, and Jerusalem artichokes. Even in poor soil, these deliver reliable yield and store easily with minimal input. Radishes and greens are great, but beans and tubers feed you when the nights get long. Rotate planters near doorways, build vertical grow racks from old pallets, and mulch aggressively to conserve moisture. Every square foot counts. Now procure. This is where skill meets terrain. No matter where you are, city, suburb, or country, food grows where people forget to look. Dandelions, purslane, lamb's quarters, wood sorrel, urban sidewalks, and abandoned lots are often rich with edible greens, high in minerals. Suburban creeks carry crawfish, minnows, and wild herbs like mint or watercress. Out in rural zones, the margins, the fence lines, hedgerows, and forgotten orchards often hide more food than the fields. Organize rotating foraging teams. Think of them as both scouts and suppliers. And every foraging team needs a quartermaster. Their job is simple but critical. Write down what's found, how much, where, and how to use it safely. Mistaking poisonous pokeweed for edible spinach isn't just a mistake, it's a threat to group survival. Build a small binder of laminated plant ID cards. Use photos, not just names. The time to learn isn't when someone's already sick. Involve kids early. Show them how to debitter acorns, leach the tannins in cold water baths, or how to hull and dry sunflower seeds. Every useful task is a lesson, and every lesson scales your labor force. Turn anxiety into purpose. Turn purpose into output. And finally, enforce a hard rule. Every calorie that comes into your system has 3 fates. It's either eaten today, preserved for tomorrow, or cycled into a system that grows more calories later. That might be feeding chickens, fermenting into vinegar, or composting into next month's soil. Anything else is waste. And in this world, waste isn't just sloppy, it's a moral failure. It's an insult to the energy it took to survive this long. Medicine and sanitation aren't backup plans, they're frontline defense systems. And in a grid-down world, they decide whether a cut is a nuisance or a death sentence. You're not building a med kit, you're building a micro-clinic. Start with Tier 1, your everyday line of defense. Stock not just what you use, but what others around you will ask for. Think community resilience. Acetaminophen and ibuprofen aren't interchangeable. Stock both for fever, pain, and inflammation. Loperamide buys you time when diarrhea threatens dehydration. Antihistamines like loratadine or diphenhydramine calm allergic reactions, rashes, even bug bites. Triple antibiotic ointment, hydrocortisone cream, oral rehydration salts, these aren't luxuries. They're your new urgent care. Place all of this in a clearly labeled daily use container stored in a dry, cool, visible location. Nothing worse than a scavenger hunt in the middle of a 2 a.m. emergency. Isopropyl alcohol at 91% concentration. Stored in an amber glass bottle to prevent degradation, serves double duty, wound disinfection and surface sterilization. Bleach tabs or calcium hypochlorite can produce gallons of disinfectant on demand and never expire if kept sealed. Tier 2 is sealed, sacrosanct, and ready for blood. Tourniquets, preferably CAT or SOFTTW, not knockoffs, stop arterial bleeds in seconds. Hemostatic gauze, like Quick Clot, packs into deep wounds where pressure isn't enough. Chest seals aren't just for gunshots. Any puncture to the chest cavity, even from rebar or falling debris, needs that airtight seal to prevent a collapsed lung. Include Israeli bandages, nitrile gloves, trauma shears, and an emergency airway, like a nasopharyngeal tube with lube. Label this bag trauma. Do not open unless necessary. Because in a crisis, clarity saves lives. Prescriptions are your Achilles heel if you ignore them. If you or someone in your household relies on daily medication, thyroid hormones, blood pressure meds, antipsychotics, your margin of error is razor thin. Talk to your doctor before disaster strikes. Ask for a vacation override or 90-day refill option and rotate monthly to keep your supply fresh. For cold chain meds like insulin, use passive cooling. A pot-and-pot clay cooler buried 3 feet underground leverages the Earth's stable temperature, typically around 55 degrees. Wrap the medicine in zip bags, store with a thermometer, and check daily. It's not perfect, but it can extend usability by weeks. Hygiene isn't optional, it's structural. A tippy tap made from a jerry can, stick, and foot pedal lets everyone wash without contaminating the spout. Keep liquid soap in a pump, not a bar, less mess, fewer microbes. Mount visual instructions with images, not words, near every station. Kids, guests, even non-English speakers can follow them. Use gray water efficiently. Runoff from hand washing or dishes goes to non-edible plants at least 50 feet away from any wellhead or water source. That line keeps pathogens out of your drinking water. Toilets escalate with numbers. One family? A sawdust composting toilet is enough. Just alternate buckets and rotate piles. But as soon as you have 10 households or more, you need coordinated waste systems. A trench latrine dug 4 feet deep with a layer of lime after every use and a rotating daily lime spreader duty keeps smells down and bacteria buried. This isn't just about comfort, it's about survival math. In long-term power loss, the #1 killer isn't gunfire. It's diarrhea, it's infection, it's sepsis from a simple splinter left untreated. And every one of those begins when someone forgets the soap. Make it your religion. Clean hands save more lives than bullets ever will. Mobility and security aren't just luxuries in a blackout. They're lifelines. And they're tightly woven together. Your ability to transport food, water, medicine, and fuel while keeping yourself and your people protected may very well dictate whether you thrive, survive, or become dependent on others. First, think about wheels. When gasoline becomes as rare as antibiotics, anything you can move without it becomes an asset. Bicycles aren't just for kids anymore. A sturdy mountain bike with a rear rack, panniers, or even a trailer becomes your personal delivery van. Keep tire repair kits, spare inner tubes, a hand pump, and chain lube stored just like you would rice or beans, because if your food can't move, it may as well not exist. For families, jogging strollers or bike trailers, often left collecting dust in suburban garages, suddenly become the backbone of neighborhood logistics. Reinforce their frames, inflate the tires monthly, and store spare parts like you would for a vehicle. If you're close to a river or canal, don't overlook water mobility. Canoes and kayaks weren't toys in the 1800s, they were transport trucks. Water is flat, fuel-free infrastructure, and a paddle in practiced hands can outlast a gas tank every time. Next, turn to communication. It's the outer shell of security. A well-run neighborhood with basic radios can outperform a scattered group armed to the teeth. Invest in GMRS radios with rechargeable AA packs and teach every adult and teenager how to use them. Standardize call signs, keep it simple and human like Home Base, Scout 1, or Family 2. And create a routine. 3 fixed check-in times a day, 0800, 1200, 1800. It might sound small, but predictable check-ins offer clarity, reduce paranoia, and help teams across a few blocks or a few miles stay in sync. Keep communication tight, professional, and brief. Time on air is exposure. Signal discipline is protection. Now let's look at physical security, not through Hollywood's lens, but from a prepper's point of view, rooted in deterrence, not escalation. Start with first layer reinforcements. Solid core doors, long screws in every hinge and strike plate, one-sided deadbolts that don't give away their presence from the outside. If you can't afford new doors, bolt plywood panels across vulnerable frames inside at night. Passive infrared motion sensors placed along a driveway or garden path can be solar-powered and trigger a chime or strobe inside your shelter, buying you those precious seconds of forewarning that most people never get. Aromatic landscaping isn't just cosmetic. Rosemary, lavender, thyme, these aren't just herbs. They're natural odor shields that confuse animal and human scent tracking. If you cook with wood or charcoal, the smell will travel. Buffering your perimeter with these plants isn't a fix, but it's a smart layer of camouflage that dulls one of your most obvious giveaways. Firearms, if they're legal in your area, are not the first answer, but they should be your last line, clean, ready, and secured. Break them down for storage in lockable, coated cases, safe from children, but accessible to trained adults in minutes. Practice safe handling often, and make sure everyone in the home knows the protocol for threat escalation. That protocol is everything. It's the firewall between accident and intention. Build a de-escalation ladder and rehearse it out loud. Step 1, loud verbal warning. Step 2, activate lights, solar floodlight or headlamp beam. Step 3, non-lethal alert, blast a whistle or air horn. Only after clear, unambiguous threat confirmation should force be considered. The real enemy in these scenarios isn't people, it's panic. Most confrontations start with fear, not malice. Your job is to project calm readiness, not aggression. Finally, never underestimate the chaos multiplier of rumors. When phones are down and radios are scarce, lies travel faster than facts. If someone says a gang is coming or a relief truck is 10 miles out, ask who saw it, where, and when. Don't repeat what you can't verify. Post a neighborhood message board, physical, not digital, and use it to relay confirmed info only. Even a whiteboard under a tarp can become your local newsroom, preventing spiral narratives from taking over. Strong mobility lets you move. Solid communication lets you coordinate. But calm security protocols, that's what holds your ground when pressure rises. Together, they create the infrastructure of resilience, even when the infrastructure you once depended on has failed. Grid collapse doesn't have to end in Mad Max. History favors the coalition builders. Iceland's 2010 ash cloud stranded thousands, yet locals opened spare rooms. Puerto Rico's neighborhood Comunidades Solares kept diabetics alive with microgrids after hurricanes. Ukraine's wartime points of invincibility turned schools into heated, powered hubs during outages. The pattern is clear, small, autonomous nodes knit into loose federations rebound faster than lone wolves or top-down command chains. Your job after the first frantic month is to shift from fortress thinking to network thinking. Barter skill for skill, not just good for good. Host Skillshare. Saturdays, solar maintenance, bicycle repair, infant first aid. Map local assets, the retired lineman, the beekeeper, the amateur radio tech, and post that map where everyone sees it. When the national grid finally crawls back, households that stayed functional become the bridge between utility crews and still dark streets. In other words, the future belongs to the prepared, but it's shaped by the cooperative. If this run-through turned a national blackout from an abstract fear into a concrete, beatable challenge, tap like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell. Every week, Safety Zone translates breaking headlines into step-by-step readiness. No panic, just a plan. Stay alert, stay grounded, and keep stacking the skills that light up the dark before the grid does.